All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to start with a approval of the minutes. So need a motion to approve. Kevin, Zach, any discussion on the minutes? Any corrections, questions? One of these days, I'm going to be excited when you guys have changes.
There's been. There has been.
All right, I'm just holding out hope. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes? All right, looks like the ayes have it, so those are approved. Angelina, I'll hand it over to you for the superintendent update.
Absolutely. Is Bernie Donegan ready?
I think, Jason, are you up on there? I think you just got to start his camera.
Jason, are you available?
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
All
ready.
right.
Perfect.
All right, so this is Jason Schwartz, and he's from Bernie Donegan's office, and they're our fiscal advisors. He's here tonight to present our 5-year financial plan.
All set, ready to go whenever?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Steph. And so as Stephanie was saying, I'm Jason Schwartz. I'm the president at Donegan Incorporated, the district's financial advisors. I help with capital project planning and also doing 5-year long-range plans. So that's what we're going to be presenting tonight is a quick update on where the capital project stands, as well as going through the 5-year projections for the long-range plan. So I'm just going to pull this up on the screen here. Okay, is that showing up okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just as a starting point, before we get into the actual projections themselves, we always like to start with just a refresher on what the long range plan is and what we use it for. Just for anybody who needs a refresher from prior years when we've done this presentation or who the first time in the presentation. So again, a long range plan, what we're really trying to do is project out revenues and expenditures, and then their associated impact on fund balance over the next couple of years. And we use it to really help us make decisions as a district about, looking at what our trends are, our commitments on the expenditure side, determining how that all impacts, the program mission we're able to deliver as a district in terms of, the services you want to provide, the capital improvements that are needed, things like that. One thing that's important to know is that this isn't the same as doing your budgeting, right? So you're obviously this time of year, you're starting to get into your budgeting. I'm sure you'll be talking about that at upcoming meetings. This is a useful tool to guide you in your budgeting, but these figures should not be used for your budgeting, right? Because we're trying to be purposely a little bit more realistic in the projections in a long range plan. For any number of reasons, you might want to be, might want to or need to be a little bit more conservative in terms of budgeting, because you never know what's going to happen mid-year in terms of students moving into the district, emergency projects, things like that. So sometimes you need to have a little bit more cushion built into the budget for the unknown. So again, this can be a guiding tool for some of your conversations and decisions you're making big picture, but you wouldn't want to just take these numbers and use them. Okay, so then getting into the plan itself, we'll start with just an update on the capital projects. So this is the summary of where you're at. This includes all of your bonded projects as well as estimated debt service and aid for the current capital project you're doing. And really what we use this for primarily is we want to focus in on these local share columns here and try to manage those as best we can. And you see we're kind of projecting to be nice and flat out into the future. Because that's important, because that plays into your annual budget, right? You don't want those numbers jumping all around. That's where you can have, crazy spikes and dips in your budgeting that are hard to plan for. And also these local share columns play into your capital exclusion for your tax cap. So it also can affect, the amount that the tax cap number can be if you're not managing that and trying to keep it pretty similar. You will see some slight increases in the local share, just as a reminder that current capital project did have a tax impact associated with it. So that's what those step ups in the local share are reflecting, is that impact that we had told everybody at the outset of the vote for that project that we were going to be at in terms of increases to be able to deliver that project. So we already stepped into a good share of that impact last year, but we are anticipating another small increase this year to get up to that full impact that was originally discussed. And this is graphically where you can see that. So again, that the black line going across the page is where you had been in the past. We took most of that step up in the increase in 25-26, and then we're anticipating that final step up in 26-27, and then leveling off from there. Okay, so then getting into the capital project itself, or sorry, the long-range plan itself, and starting to talk about future projections. So we do always like to start by just taking a look at the last couple of years and seeing how things have been going, to kind of see, what trends do we have in terms of the numbers that we actually already know for actual data over the last couple of years. So you can see the breakdown across different fund balance categories, but the main spot that we're look at is right above the dashed line of, about 2/3 of the way down the page. Oops, sorry. Where you have your total fund balance. So we want to see, has that been growing or decreasing? And generally speaking, it has been growing. You see that the numbers dropped from 23 to 24, but that was related to that capital reserve balance that you were contributing to the current capital project. So you see where the highlight is at the top of the page, that decrease in capital reserve. So that was a planned one-time expenditure. So that's not as concerning as if you have, ongoing operating deficits. And if you account for that decrease in the reserve, you actually would have had a surplus in that year from just general operations, not counting that one-time capital reserve use. And then from 24 to 25, you can see the balance went up about 800,000, so a good surplus in that year. And down on the bottom for the unassigned fund balance, you're hovering, right about that 4%. That's the cap that kind of close office likes to see typically. Okay, so then getting into some of the projections themselves. So we'll talk about the overall revenue picture in a minute, but just to start with talking specifically about state aid. So we do break this out separately just because there are so many categories, as you can see, that roll into, just that state aid budget line. So really just a couple key ones to focus on the top there, foundation aid. We are assuming a 2% increase in foundation aid going forward. So that's, roughly $160,000 a year. That is in line with what typically has been experienced in the past couple of years. The numbers for, the initial governor's runs are not out yet. They should be out very soon. But traditionally, they usually have at least a 2 or 3% baseline increase in foundation aid year to year. And this is an election year coming up, so presumably they would want to have that again, at least for next year. In terms of other categories here, a lot of these are what we call expense-based aid. So if you spend the money and then you get the aid back at your aid ratio. So most of these we're just keeping flat into the future, assuming that if you're going to continue to have similar program, similar use of BOCES, similar busing services, things like that, that you have similar aid coming back on those expenditures. And then the highlights down at the bottom, the two highlighted rows, building aid and capital outlay aid, that's pulling from those projections we went through at the start of the report. So we're not just carrying those forward as flat. We are adjusting those year to year, depending on what we know. And the biggest thing you see here in this 26-27 column is about a $1.9 million increase in building aid next year, which is based on anticipating closing out the current capital project and the aid starting for that. So you will see a good bump up in your building aid, but also the associated increase in your debt service as well that we'll see when we get to the expense page. Any questions on any of that so far? Okay.
Hearing none, we'll go to the revenue page. So again, the two primary revenue sources that make up, 90+% of your revenue budget are the state aid that we just went through, and then the property taxes. So on the top two lines here, taxes and STAR. So what we are assuming for these five-year projections is that the district will go right out to your tax cap number. And that's what these blue figures in the top here are. So between 2.3 to 2.9%. The reason next year is anticipated to be a little higher is because of that capital exclusion. So that's the final step on the project. So it is important that we, go use that capital exclusion, because if we stay lower in this upcoming year, then really what we're doing is using capital fund would, essentially displace the ability to raise any kind of revenues for operating expenses. So that we kind of level out at 2.3%. So in total, really the big thing to focus in on this page is down in this bottom right-hand corner. You see the average increase is 2.61. Again, a much bigger increase next year because of the higher tax cap number and the start of the building aid. And then kind of about, mid to high 1% increases the next 4 years. So if you just put a pin in that and kind of keep it in mind as we start talking about expenditures in a minute here. So again, just at like a 10,000 foot level, very, general summarized categories of the district's expenditure budget. We know you obviously have a lot more detail than this when you create your actual budget, but just talking kind of big picture, your different categories of general support, instruction, transportation. We're assuming salary increases of 4.25% per year, general operating expenses and and inflation at about 4%, bus purchases at about 5%. That the bus purchases are an important one to point out, because that 5% is really just kind of based on diesel and the district doing and being able to get the waiver to the EV bus mandate. So this long range plan does not reflect the assumption of any kind of EV bus purchases yet over the next couple of years, depending on how that all shakes out. Down on the bottom here, employee benefits, again, retirement and Social Security are just a function of the salaries we're projecting based on contribution rates for ERS and TRS, and then Social Security, 7.65% of salaries. We've got some small insurance categories, and then obviously the hospital, medical, dental is the biggest insurance category, and that we're projecting 12% increases on average. And then the other big expenditure category is the debt service line again. So like we said, you're about 2.6 million in the current year, and that's bumping up to about 3.9 million in the future years as that final step of the current capital project comes on. So the big thing here again is, when you look at the averages, you're at about, just under 6% average increase in expenses. So we'll talk in a minute when we get to the fund balance page, but obviously that is, not a sustainable situation long-term if your expenses are going up at 6% and revenues only at about 2.5 to 3%. That creates a gap, and the gap would, if that stays in that manner every year, then the gap will grow more and more, which is what we see on the fund balance page when we get to that. So a couple of things here when we look at that on the fund balance page, again, on the top part of the page here is just the summary from the prior pages of total revenues and expenses. So again, you can see, last year you had a good surplus. It was a little misleading because there was a couple things going on. You had one bus that did not get delivered because of lead time. So that was about 180,000 that had been budgeted for but didn't get spent. It got encumbered over into the current year. And then you also had an unusually large refund of prior year expenses for Steph, I believe that's for the
Those health insurance
for
reps,
it.
yeah, from several years ago.
Yeah. So that was, the 600,000 is not the full refund you had. That just represents kind of the excess refund above the normal amount. So when you account for those two big ticket items, the district was actually much closer to break even in 2025. So, not terrible to be break even, but what that tells us is there's not a lot of room in the budget as it currently stands. If we see those kind of divergent trends where the expenses are going up faster than revenues, we don't have a lot of room before kind of break even starts to turn into running deficits and having to tap into our reserves and fund balance. So that's what you see on the top page here. You know, we're projecting pretty similar results in the current year after you take out those kind of one-off items of being, you know, roughly break even or just a small deficit. And then in the future years, you see we start to project larger deficits as those expenses go up at a faster pace and they get bigger each year. So, you know, really the good news when you look at the bottom line in terms of the fund balances is that you have done a good job as a district kind of building some fund balances and healthy levels of reserves. So even with these projections, you still have a few years of runway to work with, you know, in terms of having fund balance before you start to see the red numbers in the total fund balance on the bottom of the page. But it is something that certainly when you see that red, it's important to keep your eyes open as you're making decisions in the budget, and really make sure you're maximizing your revenues, you know, not leaving any money on the table in terms of tax levy, and making, you know, smart, prudent long-term decisions, not, you know, committing yourself to excessive increases in expenditures that are long-term and continue to make that problem bigger. So, you know, certainly it's always a little bit eye-opening when you see red, but this is not an uncommon situation for districts across the state. Because of that trend, you know, it's just a difficult situation that districts in New York State are in. You know, your biggest expenditure is your people, right? And you have to have, you know, competitive salaries to be attractive. You have to, you know, offer the benefits. We all know health insurance is a really, you know, tough cost for any business, you know, schools or private business right now. And then you're, you know, on the revenues, you really just don't have a lot of control with that cap on the tax levy and state aid kind of being out of your hands. So, you know, it's not an uncommon thing, but it's something to certainly be aware of and make sure that, you know, as like we talked about at the beginning of the presentation, when you start to use this to guide your budget discussions, making sure you're kind of keeping that in the back of your mind to make strong, you know, viable long-term decisions that will help you continue to push that red further out into the future as we work through this. Any questions on that, on any of the projections?
I think I have a couple questions. One is, you know, obviously when we look ahead to even just 2030, you're talking about a $7 million gap. At that point, we've gone through our fund balance. We're, you know, flipped over in terms of the financials. While I understand the need to be prudent with our expenses, et cetera, that seems like a very large, sizable gap to close. And I'm curious from your experience working with other districts, you know, what this kind of looks like and what suggestions are being made around the state.
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest things, we'll talk in a second. We've got a slide at the back here just to kind of illustrate the importance of going to the cap. Obviously, you know, not leaving any money on the table. You know, everybody would love to be able to do a 0% tax increase, right? But when you have these pressures on the expenditure budget, every dollar that you leave on the table, it really has an outsized impact because of the compounding effect of the tax cap as well. So I think that's a big thing, is just being very aware that of the long-term impacts of anything you leave on the table. And then, you know, I think some of the strategies a lot of districts are using is just, you know, being smart about, you know, evaluating when you have like retirements. Is there, you know, where does your program stand? Is it a position that definitely needs to be refilled or, you know, replaced, or is there an ability to kind of work with what you have? You know, looking for shared services, whether they be with your BOCES, where, you know, they may be able to provide some services and you can at least generate some aid off of that. You know, sharing sports, looking at shared services with other municipalities or like busing, things like that. You know, and then, you know, so those are some of the main things. And then, you know, again, we're trying to be realistic in these projections, but there is still some conservative numbers in here. I mean, I think probably your biggest variable in here, just going back to the expense page for a minute, is really that insurance line, right? So 12% is a big number. If that comes in at, you know, 10% instead of 12, then that really starts to alleviate some of that pressure a lot, because that's a couple $100,000 a year added up over a couple of years, that turns into a couple $1 million of improvement pretty quickly. But that's just it's so hard to predict right now what insurance is doing, obviously. So if insurances continue to go up at such a drastic pace, then there will at some point have to be discussions about how that works and how that's sustainable long term. Did that help answer a little bit, or?
Yeah, I don't know if I feel any better, but Zach, you're asking about the budget process. Here's why it's fun.
So I have a quick question. Looking at the total expenses, it looks like it goes up 2% year over year. Is that about what you're anticipating? Am I reading that correctly? So it looks like it's 7% for 25 to 26, then 9, 26 to 27. Does that sound correct?
For the expenses?
Yeah, it's total expenses. Can you go back?
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, that's about right. It was 8.8 and 27. And then in 28 to 31, it's about high 4s to mid 5s. Again, the reason 27 is a little higher is because the final step of the capital project comes on. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
And then it kind of levels out at like more normal, just operating increases from, salaries, insurance, inflation, things like that. We're currently projecting it closer to like 4.5% to 5%. Okay, any other questions on the projections or? Okay, if not, just the last couple of pages of the presentation. This is our tax cap page. So this is projecting based off of what we think the tax cap will be. Obviously, there's some factors that go into it in terms of like the growth factor, the allowable levy factor. So these numbers will change a little bit, but these use like 5-year historical averages. So they should be, at least in the ballpark in terms of what we would expect. And really the key thing here is that in the middle of the page there, the double box is this long range plan is not assuming you would need any other or any supermajority votes or any tax cap overrides. Back to the gentleman's question a minute ago, I think that's one of the other things you are starting to see from more school districts as well that are having these pressures on the budget is looking at, tax rates and tax levies and saying, hey, is it sustainable to stay within the cap year after year, or do we need to eventually try to exceed the cap? Obviously, it is hard to get that vote, but we have seen more and more districts attempt that in recent years, and with some level of success if you're explaining it. So looking at things like your tax rate compared to neighboring districts, or what your tax rate has done over the last 12 to 13 years of the tax cap era compared to CPI, like those are some strategies that people will use, and that's something we could certainly help you do if that's valuable or interesting information for you. And then just on the topic of tax cap, this page right here just kind of shows that compounding effect of if you don't go right to the cap. So the top half of the page again is showing the total taxes you would collect in the long range plan where you are going right to the cap. The bottom half of the page says, what if instead of going to the cap, that 2.3, 2.9%, whatever it is that we're projecting, what if we just went to 2%, right? Because everybody calls it the 2% tax cap, even though it's not. What if we just said we're just going to only go up 2% per year? Well, you can see it in any given year. That's 150 to 300,000 that you're leaving on the table. Plus, you're also starting from a lower point than the next year. So when you add it up over time, it's actually about 1.3 million over a 5-year period that you of less revenue that you would collect. So on that fund balance page, those red numbers that we're seeing would get that much worse if we're not going right up to the cap. And again, just to summarize, and we've already kind of hit this a little bit with the question a minute ago, but really, when you're looking to improve those fund balance projections and not get into the red, again, the 3 ways that you manage deficits are increasing your revenues, which again, the only one you really control is your tax levy, decreasing expenditures. So, reviewing contracts, being aware of kind of the long-term commitments you're making, looking for opportunity for shared services, and just reviewing from the best and most efficient way to deliver them. And then where you have those gaps between revenues and expenditures, that's what your reserves and fund balance are for, is to plug those in any given year. But again, with the reminder that if they're for ongoing operational costs instead of one-time expenditures like use of a capital reserve, obviously that you can only use the reserves and fund balance for so long. Those are not sustainable long-term options, because if you're using them, then you're not generating the surpluses needed to replenish them. So that's kind of just the overall summary in terms of what to take away from the presentation, and then just continuing to evaluate and look at things as they move forward and update every year, so you can kind of see how some of these things are updating in real time. So with that said, any final, that's really the presentation for tonight in terms of the update. Are there any additional questions or anything else you would like us to cover?
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jason.
you.
Jason, thank you.
Yep, thank you. And thank you to Steph and her group in the business office for all the work they did and helping us gather this information to put this together.
Thanks, Jason. Have a good night.
Yep, thank you. Have a good one.
Next up, we are going to have a final presentation from Mr. Eric Wetmore, our network administrator. Eric is retiring in very, very short order after, 28 plus years with us?
Yeah, it started out with Questar, but 1999, my Anthony, the technician I work with, reminded me that I've been with the district since Y2K through COVID. So
So,
I think I'm done.
he's been the only network administrator we've ever had, although I think I saw Jonathan here.
Jonathan's here.
Yes, Jonathan is here.
That'll be your second.
Jonathan is replacing Eric, and he's been working with Eric over the last couple weeks to make sure there's a seamless transition. So,
You're in good hands.
do you have your access to the presentation?
Yeah. So I will apologize. Anthony did let me know that that presentation was on the computer. So then he texted to remind me. So he's probably watching out there. So sorry about the first few slides. And when I finally figured out that I could show the bigger slides on the bigger screen. So yeah, this is it. So I'm Eric Wetmore, Network Administrator and IT. So we figure we just start with the big picture, which is our mission is to ensure a secure, reliable, accessible network. We'll refer back to this on the later slides here. So yeah, this is right off of our goals and missions from the Brunswick Central School website. And that's our goal and mission. Also want to go through some of the key accomplishments we've accomplished this last year was why we migrated to the new web filter. I'm sorry, I'm not really big at reading just PowerPoint slides. So that's our big accomplishments for the year. Just sort of browse through those techie stuff. Pretty excited about our new web filter. We're still working through the ins and outs of it. It has a teacher component that allows them to real-time open up websites for the students during their class. Is a big feature. They can also see the students' screens and block sites and see all their tabs and things. I think they're excited about it. We've had pretty good feedback for the most part on that. And the other thing is the camera system was a big improvement, I think, from our last one. Very excited about that. I did feel proud of that. Quite a bit of work on it. And we're constantly, as far as, ensuring that connectivity, we've always been working for year after year for redundancy and what they call failover and things like that. So we've come a long way, baby, from when I started with that. So that's my key accomplishments here. So going with our key performance indicators. So the weakest link of networks and security is me, or us, I should say, the user, the end user. And we recently started training short little videos, 3-minute videos and things. And we were at an F when we started. And as you can see now, we're at a B, a good middle B. Our company is above the industry, is the purple line. Kind of see that's where our industry of education is, and we're that blue line on top. So we're doing well with our completion ratio has gone up substantially. I applaud or thank the administrators for helping, get people to watch the videos. They're rather humorous, I find. Matter of fact, one of the people that are in the videos, Doug, he's the gullible guy that falls for everything. He's actually in an Amazon commercial now. So anybody pick him out in an Amazon commercial. So again, that's our one of our key indicators. There's an index here. I'll click on it really quick. Later, if you want to get into it, I can go through some of those slides, but here's some other key indicators. Well, here's our staff, network administrator and a technician. Again, I won't go into any of this, maybe later if we have time, but they're just brief facts and graphs that are cool little things about tickets that we've gotten through our new, we put in a new tech support ticketing system as well. And then some average things comparing last year to this year. This ticketing system, as we get more buy-in from the staff to put in tickets, we're going to get even more data out of this, and you'll be able to do comparisons, as this will be a nice little baseline. Very excited about this. I think it's very helpful. It can give us, these reports about what are we spending most of our time on. I did say I wasn't going to go through this, but I'm doing it anyway. So network, maintain high network uptime. As you can see, our network availability is 99.99%. Again, that's because we built in the redundancy. These top two things are our core switch. I'm going to get too techie here, but all this is because of that redundancy and stuff, things that we've added. We get reports on our Wi-Fi, so we know, if an AP is down, access point, excuse me. Here's our raw data, the bandwidth that we're using at each time. Here's the clients that are on the network. Here's the top 25 applications. We can run that report. So if we see anything weird here, these are excellent. These are all educational. We're not seeing anything like Roblox pop up here. That would be a red flag. So these are all educational. It's awesome. And then that's the apps. I believe that's apps. Yep, applications. This is the websites that people are visiting. Again, all educational. No surprises there. That's going to get to that later. We'll hide that. Okay, back to the deal here. Okay, so challenges. So, well, our challenges are to ensure a reliable, accessible technical infrastructure. That's our challenge. So our needs coming up are, our switches are coming end of life in 2029. So as an example, we would bring in, there's 30 switches. So, excuse me. So we would bring in 10 the next few years, leaving another year for any other, items that we would need to update as far as storage and things. And then our ask is, it takes a village, it takes a village to keep this reliable, accessible technical infrastructure. So from the administrators and the Board of Education, support us with the budget and the regulations, continue to do that. You've been doing that. And everybody, this is going to be this running thing is, kind of stay informed of threats and other things that are coming in your way, because again, as users, we're the most vulnerable to fall for tricks and click on a link that we shouldn't have. And since we're all kind of connected to the school, it can, travel in through the school districts and compromise security within the district. Faculty and staff, complete those trainings. You're doing a great job doing that. Remain vigilant of the students with the web filter. We've seen a great increase of that. The teachers now see what we've been seeing on a web filter. They see the silly things that students may get into every now and then. Then report on when it's suspicious activity. And that is anecdotally, through those trainings, we have people quite often say, this email doesn't look right. So it's working. They're saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't know if the sheik really needs this money. So, and I say, no, yeah, you can delete that one. But anyway, And then the faculty teach and demonstrate cyber safety and digital citizenship. These things are all happening. This is really just continue to do that as our ask. Parents and guardians, be mindful of what your children are doing online. And then please take good care of the devices. I showed that a little bit easier. And be sure that they're ready for school with Chromebooks that are charged. So we do have a Chromebook cart that we have, a loaner cart. And yeah, that's one of our challenges, is keeping the students bringing the devices, because we go through those loaners pretty quickly. And the people that are here will often hear that, announcement go over the PA system. We are out of loaners today. But all in all, I think we're doing fairly well. So as far as keeping care of them, so when we get something like this Chromebook, I don't know if you can see how well you see that, but the screen's cracked. So when this came in, it did not have a case on it. And we, believe it or not, probably if the case was on this Chromebook, this wouldn't have happened, because you can drop a Chromebook. Our Dell Chromebooks say you can drop them from 6 feet and they shouldn't break. So with a case on it,
Don't test it out.
well, we're thinking about doing a video actually of dropping them and test with ones that's already broken. Like the keyboard's broken. We kind of want to do that as a video, and if it holds true, we'll put that video out. If it doesn't hold true, we won't put it out. This one I have no explanation for. This, obviously, if a case was on it, probably would not.
Is that masking tape? Scotch tape?
Well, yeah, I think they tried to put it back together with Scotch tape. We're not sure if they were taking a chunk. We're not really sure how this down here happened. But anyway, I just thought that was, we don't see a lot of damage. Shockingly, when we run the report on how much we spend on that, repairing them is lower. It's time. Right now, the technician, Anthony DeVales, can't say enough about him. We repair stuff in-house. So their only cost is the part that we have to pass on to anyone. So that is it, folks. Enjoy and good luck.
So I just want to congratulate Eric on his years of service and wish you nothing but the best.
All right, thank you. My daughter, she worked here. No. John, actually, can you stand up? Did everyone see Jonathan?
This is the new Eric, Jonathan.
Yep.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a few updates. Today we had our Curriculum and Assessment Council, which met and we went through several things that are very timely and relevant. We spoke briefly of the New York State Initiative, A Portrait of a Graduate, and just kind of where we're at as a district. And we talked about some updates that are related to that. One of them being climate education, the other one being personal financial literacy. And we feel like we're really poised quite well. We're going to be doing a survey just to see where it is happening, because we know it is happening, and put together a document that we can share it with our parents and to make sure that there's no gaps. But I don't anticipate that being a heavy lift for us as a district. So I think we're already doing those things. We also started briefly looking at our assessments to see how they look, and we reviewed a handful of curricular changes. One of the challenges that we've had in the last couple of years is that we have several electives that are undersubscribed. So we're going to be changing out some electives that more align with student needs. I think we're removing astronomy and one other, but we're adding a chemistry class. So just kind of changing to meet the needs of where the kids are at. A brief construction update. The stadium field is complete minus the punch list, which means they'll come back and just make sure all the grass is level in the spring and actually the surface of the track. But beyond that, it's substantially done and it looks really terrific. I've been able to share some drone photos and it looks incredibly sharp. Route 2 is moving along. It's actually moving along a lot slower than we thought, but we're not behind our overall schedule. They've been bringing in a lot of topsoil, and they just keep bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in. In the spring, two major things will happen with that Route 2 field. One is irrigation, and two is sod. So what ended up happening, and I think one of the reasons why we're running a little bit behind, is that there was some changes that needed to be made to the irrigation. We thought we could hook to a line on Route 2, but once they actually got in there, they realized they couldn't hook to a line on Route 2, and we actually have to pull water from way over near this building, go underneath the concrete and along the buildings and way out there. So not the biggest deal. It'll be taken care of in the contingency budget, but it's just an unexpected. We thought it'd be a quick little line and it's not. So that'll happen in the spring, and then they'll work on sod and we'll be right on track. So no loss of time related to some delays there. Scholar athletes. I'm really proud, again, all of our fall teams were scholar athletes. This is a change that it's been in the past, and it's actually very wonderful. So our kids, our student athletes are participating and they're fulfilling their academic obligations. One thing to note, we've been really working hard to look for grants and financial opportunities. And just this week, I put in for the Verizon Innovative Learning Grant for Cohort 13. We don't qualify for it due to our poverty rate, but because we're CEP, which is community eligibility for free and reduced lunch, we were able to put in for it. And basically what that's going to bring is some more devices. It's going to bring some network connectivity. It's going to bring some IT support. So it would be great if we got it. I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic, but we'll continue to put in for those things. We're just unfortunately not poor enough sometimes, and we're not rich enough. We just fall in this really weird spot. But hopefully I should hear next week whether or not we were accepted in that program. Mrs. Honorato has been making some announcements over time, but we're getting closer to finalizing a new math curriculum. We think that this is really going to help with some of our student achievement because it does have a much higher level of rigor in the math, which is desperately needed. We talked about it a little bit in our budget meeting before this. These programs, they're wonderful, and we really appreciate the teachers going through the training and the vetting and picking the best ones, but they're quite expensive. This program will minimally be $100,000 just to get us started. So it's just something to consider. It's an essential part about what we do, but something to be thinking about in the upcoming year. And then lastly, I just cannot thank enough our music department for the outstanding winter performances. The kids were absolutely wonderful. I just hear rave reviews from our community members that continue to talk about the quality music and arts program we have here at Tamarack. So with that said, I will transition over and we'll start with Mrs. Honorato.
Good evening, everyone. We're of course in the midst of our holiday excitement in the elementary school. We have a variety of special activities going on and coming up. Some are really just for fun and community building. Some are about giving and giving back to our community. Our PTSA is sponsoring another holiday shop that we're in the thick of this week, and students really, really love that. And it's exciting to see them get so excited to shop for their loved ones. So it's kind of a nice lesson in, giving presents sometimes is even more fun than receiving them. So thank you very much to our PTSA for putting that on again in our building. Kids get to come in during pre-scheduled time slots and shop with their classmates right during the school day, so it's very easy for them. We also, our character education folks have our hat and mitten tree up where we're asking for donations from community members, as we do every year, to send in some hats, mittens, scarves, and we donate those to a local charity before we break for the holiday season. It's already pretty filled, which is nice to see, but we'll be collecting through next Friday. And also our faculty and staff participate in a Winter Wishes program that's coordinated by our counseling center, where we select anonymous ornaments for some children and families who are wishing for things, and we see what we can do to support their wishes as a faculty and staff. We also have our grades 3 through 5 winter concert coming up next week. Mr. Siegenthaler has been working very hard on coordinating that. We're looking forward to some dress rehearsals coming up to prepare for the concert. Our third graders are going on their special annual field trip tomorrow to see a children's performance of the Nutcracker Ballet at Proctor's. And they're very much looking forward to that. It's a wonderful time of year to have that field trip. And of course, The holiday season wouldn't be complete without our annual elementary school sing-along, which will be happening next Friday afternoon before we break for the holidays. And again, Mr. Siegenthaler is an integral part of our sing-along. We have special holiday visitors participate, and typically that's where we announce the winner of the Golden Rolling Pin from the cookie plate donations to support the Friends of Music. We're also in the planning stages for our Brittenkill Education Enrichment Program, known to many of us as BEAP. You'll see on the agenda tonight, recommending approval for Sage Hogan as BEAP coordinator for this year. She is one of our secondary school counselors and will be a wonderful addition to this program. So she's put out a call for volunteers already. I'll be reiterating that message in my weekly newsletter this week. So please feel free to spread the word. Don't be shy. BEAP classes can include any variety of things that community members are passionate about. So please spread the word and encourage people to participate. We had an author visit coordinated by our librarian, Deanna Wetmore, last week. Pablo Cartaya came from Miami on the coldest day of the year so far to present to a variety of our classes throughout the day, and also met with our 5th grade book club for a special lunch to discuss the book that they're focusing on, which is one of his books. I believe the one that they might be focusing on is The Epic Tale of Arturo Zamora. So that was a real special treat and a wonderful learning experience for our kids. And looking ahead to January, we'll be having another PTSA coordinated event during the school day, our law enforcement parent appreciation lunch. That's in early January, and RSVPs will be coming out for that event. And I'll be participating in a state presentation on Portrait of a Graduate, but for students, focused on students in grades pre-K through 5. So I anticipate learning a lot from that presentation and sharing with you, the types of things that we'll be looking ahead to start focusing on in the earlier grades that align with our graduation requirements. Thank you.
Ms. Lanu.
Good evening. The first item that I have tonight is we have January Regents exams coming up. It's a pretty quick turnaround from when we get back from our holiday break to when our Regents Week happens. That's the week of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so the schedule for that week, and I'll be putting this out in my newsletter tomorrow, just a preliminary schedule for parents and families. But the schedule for that week, on the Tuesday and Wednesday of Regents Week, we are going to have no classes aside from our 6th grade. They kind of fall under a different umbrella when it comes to exam week. So our 6th graders will have regular classes. Grades 7 through 12 will not attend unless they are taking an exam or if they are scheduled for what we are calling January Academy, which is a credit recovery time for students to come in and make up work at the end of the marking period. So that is going to be taking place during Regents Week. The Thursday and Friday of exam week will be regular classes as usual, and we do have exams happening those days, but the students taking the exams, it's single-digit numbers, and so we don't need to hold off on having classes, on classes for the rest of the student population. We are working on the potential for review sessions for our students taking January Regents, in addition to them independently reviewing on their own. I've put out a call to our teachers for anyone who would like to provide review sessions for the students leading up to those exams. Next, Dr. Maloney mentioned Portrait of a Graduate, as did Ms. Honorato. One step that I am taking is I'll be meeting with Mr. Mahar, our business department, and we will be discussing course offerings for the business department, and that will be done with a focus on the recommendations of New York State in line with Portrait of a Graduate, so that we can make sure that our financial literacy course offerings are as robust as they can be for our students. And one of the things that we'll be looking at with that is exploring the addition of an AP business course to our course offerings for business. Looking back to right before Thanksgiving, we had an assembly on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Deputy Loper helped organize that and spearhead it. It was Hang Up and Drive with J.C. Good and Steve Johnson. And that was a wonderful assembly for our students. It focused on distracted driving, which many of us think like, oh, that's for us if we're holding our cell phones in our hands or we're using that as we drive. But they really focused on how all different types of distracted driving can impact our ability to operate a vehicle safely. And I think that our students, it was grades 9 through 12, and I do believe that our students really were very attentive during this presentation. The delivery that JC and Steve gave allowed our students to really engage with them and understand the motivation behind their presentations and why they've chosen to make this part of their life, traveling from school to school. Athletics, winter sports are underway. There was just tonight, I stopped down to an alumni event that our wrestling team put on where they invited wrestling alumni to come in and watched a little bit of our wrestling match before our board meeting. We also had a meeting of our student athletic participation ad hoc committee yesterday. Ms. Fanfa and Dr. Maloney participated in that along with several coaches, our athletic director and myself. And we're just actively working on coming up with ways to spread athletic awareness with our students, especially our younger population, pique interest for students who may not be aware of what certain sports have to offer for them, and to increase participation in Tamarack athletics just across the board. Really trying to get those kids back into athletics who we may have lost for one reason or another, but we especially noticed it post-COVID, where we kind of had a dip in our athletic participation. So we're putting our heads together and working on really ways where we can increase interest in measurable ways for our athletes. We had our winter concerts. Band was last week, and the choral concert was last night. Both of them were amazing, and I know that Melina is going to be speaking on that just a little bit too. But I just have to say, what a wonderful way to be entering into the holiday season and being able to see our students showcase their talents and their enthusiasm. And next week, we are moving into the week before Christmas. I feel like it's been coming forever. And of course, what would that be without a Spirit Week? So our students will be having Spirit Week next week. Monday is Movie Marathon Day. Tuesday is Tinsel and Tacky. That's holiday colors, sparkles, and ugly sweaters. Wednesday is a winter whiteout. Thursday is a countdown to 2026. And Friday is the night before, which is Pajama Day, which I shall not be wearing. But we're really looking forward to it, and it's great to have the spirit in the hallways and have even the older students get really excited for the holidays, and especially for that nice long holiday break that they'll be having.
Alina, if I could just do one quick introduction before you start. We have two new key employees that are starting, or that are going to be voted on tonight. I'd just like to introduce. We've got Kelly Burnham, who will be joining the Tamarack Elementary School as a special education teacher. So Kelly, welcome aboard. And next is Jessica Gallo. Jessica will be our next director of special education. Jessica is coming from Bethlehem. Kelly's coming from Troy City School District. So welcome aboard. Alina.
All right, thank you. I've got a few nice updates to share. Revisiting Holiday Spirit, NHS recently organized an Adopt a Family event where selected groups of NHS members bought Christmas gifts to give out to families, I believe anonymously. And then Secret Santa was started recently for the senior class, in which small gifts were given first, and then afterward, larger gifts were given. And honestly, both of these events just really help to bring together the feeling of connectivity before we get into the holiday, The 3rd of December was a band concert, very successful. I heard from a few of my friends. It was a little stressful, but it was successful in the end. Last night was the chorus concert. My brother had a lot to say about how hard they worked with the choreography and solos. It was very beautiful to hear. Brought a tear to one's eye. Everyone essentially right now has just been focused on getting things wrapped up before the holiday. No pun intended. Getting
You're on a roll.
getting all of their grades in before the end of the quarter. That's all.
Thank you, Elena.
All right, I do need a motion to move into executive session to discuss ongoing contract discussions. Can I get the motion? Tammy and Danielle, all in favor?
So we're gonna leave, so everybody can stay here and we'll be right back.
Try and make this quick.
Okay.
Go back.
Now there's this thing we get to say. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome both.
These guys.
Kind of good.
They won't be long. They get on to that stuff. Once they, when they come back, they're gonna start voting.
Jake, you went? Oh, you're asking Henry Dell. You made
Called
dinner.
executive session, and it's something that you've got to public.
You get
So they'll come
dinner.
back now. So, yeah, it's all financial stuff. Was that your program? Congratulations, I had a feeling.
I was the top one.
Yeah, that's funny. He's like, I don't know what.
You gotta tell me, digging in royal.
I mean, I could show you.
You get a warrant, you said Logan.
Now I see.
Yeah, he was like, he was like, I was expecting like at least 100.
Sorry, I was distracted.
$50 sounds fine.
And you got some with me.
Yeah. Some sort of.
Another 2 hours, probably.
Plans up, hey, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so excited now.
Oh.
Yes, I'm gonna be on the
Nice.
I mean,
Are you doing like a water bath? How do you know how to make cheese crumbs?
Have you not know how to make cheesecake? I know how to make
How to make cheesecake?
I mean, I can follow a recipe.
Cheesecake's got some complications. I just asked for you to do a water bath. That's a real cheesecake. We make a real cheesecake.
That's what I was told.
Let's make, my wife makes cheesecake, but it's no joke. You gotta pay attention. Have you made it before? Yeah.
I like it. Thank you. Thank
What do you want, brother?
Also, I talked about,
You can go whatever.
so I can talk about the rest.
Yeah, what is it? I would think it's relevant.
Oh, I was gonna write this down.
What do you ask?
They are, you have the like here. I'll say those.
I can assure you.
Well, it's hard now
And you didn't need
because I have
this,
this
integration of
information.
like slides.
You guys, like, I don't know how it's but it's like, it's very.
Well, there's, the rest is not much, right?
Somewhere.
This is pretty simple.
Well, that's right, so let's stop right here, talk about this.
I love service.
We talked about today. We'll be in my call.
Yeah, so some of it's summary. Some of it's a summary of what they talked about. I feel like they talked about. You guys address it, They talked about you mentioned like the building like mushroom.
And it's on the computer, I love and I don't my first ask. And I told her I had to pick up here. I will not be letting voice things. I will be expecting it all. It's my dad's driving.
I know.
Like around that.
And everyone likes
What?
I don't.
No, you want to decide eating McDonald's? Yeah. I mean, good for you, but no.
Do you have enough?
I gotta routine.
It just stood you up.
Yeah, I got a routine.
I have some side like rallies around.
No.
I know this so far. And then president at the top. I don't know feeling to do that. I know. I was excited to start doing so. That's what I was
Almost done.
It's the same thing as last year.
When they, so I'll say this, when they come back, we're probably looking at 10 minutes until they say, all right, would anybody like to make a public comment?
We gotta do all these chuckleheads trying to ask stupid questions.
Yeah.
Let it open room.
Wait, we have to ask her a question.
And then we'll talk.
You're all set. I thought I told you that a lot.
I have a question.
Oh, you good?
What's that thing?
No.
Oh my God, that is.
I'll talk about it.
Why are that is?
I don't know.
Also, I'm making, it's not like that.
You will. That's awesome.
Mine's so bad.
It's a more things. Leave the room.
I'll make sure we do it at least this
He said,
Wait,
honestly,
Alright.
Just happened.
yeah.
I'm telling you now,
So
sure.
I was told me the screen was harder than a rock, so I put a rock in my
That
fist.
is how that started. I
I
forgot
punched
that.
it. Not all.
Leave it
We
aside.
used it as a frisbee.
Scientists out.
Bro, Becky wants a whole roast to
That's
her.
ours.
Oh my god. Give me the ingredient, like.
Dr. Shepherd.
Yes, almost every day.
I did too.
I had to show you the ingredients.
What? Oh, you want me to do it?
You didn't see me.
Okay, so
Really? Did you throw it folks to the theater?
yeah, sorry.
I could actually bring it. Could you? Oh my god. This is so good. It's cute. I like it.
That's what like when I got I want to ask. We have that. It's literally
But then they
Miles has a lot of we would have to order
We actually despised that guy. He used to come down and layers. He's actually not even allowed to.
Try it. I barely get the truck. I'm not I spread 5,500 gallons for like 75 gallons. They are getting.
I didn't.
Yeah, 500 gallons, like 7,500 yards. And it's spread through like truck width.
You know who had me for cigarettes off?
Yes, you actually.
This is Blair girl. I know you.
I did not even listen to it. Did you like or something?
Yeah, the Lincoln said gift cards.
What's that?
Look, Lincoln gift cards.
Oh, I see.
I didn't reach up. Hold on. We'll respond. No one else. To get something.
I don't think you can say that
Yes, but I was like, I would eventually
So regular, yeah, you get paid less than you do. So then it's subbing for a fee, you get paid less than sub.
We're stuck up here. Genius idea.
I don't know if they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have a friend. I
Okay. Still got a couple more. Same stuff, like. Like, sub it. Class.
I just felt better. Honestly, she made it through September. So I was like,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, all right. Now, you guys like it? That's fine.
We worked on it twice. The first month. We got I know. Wish I knew that.
All right. I hope everyone enjoyed their horse mingle time. Session. Oh, it's on. It's on. It's on? No, it's not. Yes, it is. All right. So we're going to first need a motion to close out our executive session. Kevin, John, all in favor? All right, there we go. And then I now need a motion to resume our public meeting. Danielle, Tammy, all in favor? All right, we're back on it. All right, so that brings us to section 6, board discussion and reports. I'll turn to folks to my left and right for any updates.
Tammy, do you want to do the athletic ad hoc?
Yeah, so the ad hoc committee has been meeting with coaches, just to talk about the decline in the sports, participation for the school. So we're, just looking at some different things to do. We're trying to come up with some dates for some sports fairs, or having the sports teams go into the elementary school individually on certain predetermined days, so that they can go and talk to the elementary students about, you know, what it's like to be an athlete and what they needed to do to get there, and just kind of get the kids excited, because I think that sometimes they just don't know what they don't know. And then we are possibly going to maybe ask and try to work in intramurals at some point. So that's where we're at. And we're also going to be sending out a survey to
Yes.
the students, asking, there'll be a survey for the students who do participate, and they'll have a different set of questions, and then students that don't participate, and they'll have a set of questions as to maybe why, or what's their, you know, their hang up.
Thank you, Tammy. Anyone else?
I'll just mention for policy, you may know we had a standing item for our AI policy. An AI subcommittee met earlier this week just to talk about things. So we didn't have formal recommendations on the policy, but I just wanted to let you know it's top of mind, and we're just trying to wrap our head around it. But I don't think there's necessarily any urgency to it, but I think it's just good conversation.
Very good. All right, that takes us to section 7, special actions. Need a motion to move 7.1 for discussion. Zach and Janine. Angelina, any comment here?
Yeah, this is to compensate people that come in on a regular basis a little bit more, just for their loyalty, so that we don't lose them to other places. So these folks come in on a very consistent basis, and they're almost our building subs. So this is just to augment their pay a little bit, as much as a thank you to them, and to keep them coming every single day.
All right. I need a motion to approve the proposal for consistent compensation. Danielle, Dina. I saw you raise your hand, Dina. All in favor? All right, ayes have it. That takes us to section 8, 8.1, the student placement recommendations. Need a motion to bring that up. Danielle, Kevin, any discussion here?
Yeah, the board is obligated to vote on the plans for particular children, and you can see you don't get specific information. You rather get a student ID number, but that'll just show you of how much actually goes on, any kind of change, any type of program in that world. So very dynamic.
Yes, we know nothing except the numbers. All right, all in favor? All right, ayes have it. All right, that brings us to section 9, which is nice and long today. 9.1 through 9.15. Can I get a motion to move those? Let's see, Janine and Zach. Angelina, any discussion of any particular item here?
No, I just want to welcome our 2 new staff members. We also have an aide appointment on there as well, and some monitors, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm very happy that we have a BEEP coordinator. That's a really critical part of our school culture, so I'm very, very thankful. And I just want to welcome everybody aboard.
Welcome. All in favor of approving items 9.1 through 9.16? All right, ayes have it. Brings us to section 10, superintendent's recommendations for business and finance. I think we have some things up here for approval. Yes. All right, need a motion to move 10.1 through 10.9 for discussion and approval. All right, Zach and John. Stephanie, anything you want to cover here? Angelina?
Yeah, I'll just mention that, some months you have a lot of financial reports and some months you don't. It just depends on when we get those back from our auditor. And again, these are just critically important to notice the status of particular budget lines. So you've got a series there. You'll also notice some change orders related to the capital project. I will say I had a construction meeting today, and I don't want to jinx it, but I want to remark on how modest the change orders and how appropriate the change orders have been. And it's been really great. That means our construction managers have been doing a really good job to keep the scope where the scope is and hold the contractors accountable, which has been wonderful. We also have an extension of Star and Strand. As you know, we do contract out with the bus run for it. I believe they go to charter school, takes one route. And again, we continually try to work that to get that back inside. We did last year have 2 outside runs. This year we only have 1, which is good because it's quite an expense. And then lastly, 10.9, I won't speak for the board, but I know they have the same sentiment as I do. Very pleased to be able to offer a 2-year rollover to the BTA. We so appreciate their service and their dedication to our school district.
Yeah, and just to add a couple things, I know the rate that's being approved isn't probably as much as everyone would like it to be. This is also a district where we know that competitively, we don't pay as much as many other districts. We also ask teachers to do more every day, teaching additional section. And on top of that, you have to pay a lot into your health insurance. So despite all those things, submitting just a simple request for a rollover is much appreciated and hopefully reflects, I think, Danielle, you put it well before, this is a community. We've come together. We're here for the kids. We're here for all of you. And I think we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All in favor of approving 10.1 through 10.9? All right. Ayes have it. All right. That brings us to section 11, public comment. Have the procedures for public comment up on the screen. Hopefully you've already signed in. You will, when you get up to stand, please introduce yourself and your address. Reminder, no hurtful or derogatory remarks about individuals. Try to keep it as positive as we can make things. Important to note that we may not respond. So if you see us sitting here, I know in the past, sometimes we've had students come very passionate, we're all crying basically, but we're just kind of sitting there because we want to discuss things as a board. So don't take that to mean one thing or the other. We will limit comments to 3 minutes. I'll be keeping track of time. And if someone's already covered your topic, maybe consider giving up your time to someone else who may want to speak. All right, I think that's it. Maureen?
Katie? Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a parent here of a second grader. And I just wanted to say good evening to everybody. This is like the biggest crowd that I've been in here with lately. So, but I just wanted to come here tonight to discuss my growing concern of the removal of recess or portions of recess as a disciplinary consequence in the elementary school. My child personally has experienced the loss of recess minutes, is what they call it. And at times the entire recess period sometimes is given to the whole class, going all the way back to pre-K. So she attended pre-K, is now in 2nd grade. And some years it's happened once or twice. Recently it's become a little bit more common. And I just want to be clear that I'm not trying to single anybody out about it, but it's really more about all of the classrooms and all of the teachers and all of the kids. It's a pattern that a lot of families are noticing. It's really concerning. I think that it's a trend that's not only ineffective as a disciplinary tool, but it's also detrimental to the children's development. Recess is not a bonus. It's not an extra. It's an essential part of a child's school development. It supports their physical health, their social skills, emotional regulation, academic readiness, and it's a developmental necessity. Studies have shown that movement and unstructured play help children regain focus and return to the classroom calmer and more engaged. And removing recess removes that tool that helps improve the skills. It's not just anecdotal, it's supported by educators, child health experts, and parent advocacy groups statewide. The New York State PTA backs it. New York State Department of Education, while they don't take a stance specifically, they obviously have recommendations around it. And at the state level, there's actually some laws right now that are some active bills that they're aiming to protect recess for the entire state. Specifically, I think New York City is really impacted by this. So these bills were written because of the loss of recess has become widespread and the negative impacts on the students across the state. And we all know the purpose of the consequences is to teach, not to punish for punishment's sake. I truly believe that our district can lead by example instead of waiting for legislation to force the issue. We can choose now to prioritize what's best for the children's learning, behavior, and emotional well-being. So I respectfully ask the board to consider prohibiting the removal of recess as a disciplinary consequence, including withholding minutes, training the staff on alternative evidence-based behavior supports that help children learn from their mistakes without losing the essential physical and social time, and aligning our district's practices with the emerging statewide standards around recess access and child development. Children need movement, they need fresh air, they need an unstructured break to reset their brains and bodies so that they can return to learning. And taking away recess is not going to improve this behavior. It's harming it. I know everyone in the room cares about our students, and I'm confident that we all share the same goal in helping our kids grow into responsible, emotionally healthy learners. And protecting recess is one of the simplest and most powerful things that we can do to support that. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I appreciate all you guys do.
For everyone's record, that was exactly 3 minutes. So I don't know how you did that, but that was exactly 3 minutes.
Jim?
My name is Kim. I'm not providing you with my address for security reasons because you're streaming this on YouTube and it's going to be saved there. You should remove that, by the way. I'm here tonight because I would like to start an open dialogue with you all about the violently behavioral children in our elementary school. Sorry, I don't like public speaking. How it impacts the learning environment for the children and the teachers, and how it impacts the social environment for the children, and how it impacts the mental health of the children and the teachers. There is a violently behavioral child in my son's class that regularly interrupts classroom instruction, resulting in the teacher having to start the lessons over from the beginning. I know this because this is the second year we have dealt with a student in my son's class. Second year we have had to restart lessons regularly. There was also a recent event where the student injured another student and staff member on the same day. The student was back in school within 2 weeks' time. I met with Mrs. Honorado about my concerns related to this student on Monday, November 24th. However, she was unable to provide me with the level of information I was looking for, which was, what is the body count before we take action on a student? Who makes these decisions, and what is the process? The fact that we as a district allow children who have behaved in such a violent manner towards their peers and or their teachers or aides have been allowed to return to school after such an event is absolutely disgusting to me. It seems like the administration here is putting their fear of protecting one student in front of the duty to protect all students and staff. Gross negligence is defined as the blatant disregard for the safety of others, which sounds like a fitting term here, correct? So what am I missing? The pieces above that I'm now asking for and what we need to openly discuss, because this is not the first time this has happened and this will not be the last. We have seen this in past years, which has resulted in a great deal of trauma for a number of students who witness things in their classroom more times than any parents care to discuss about their children. None of these kids signed up for this. School should be a safe place, not a place that you fear. The teachers didn't sign up for this when they chose their career path either. They signed up to teach and to help people grow, not be attacked by their elementary age students. I'm here advocating for every student and staff member in that elementary school. But I'll tell you what, if I ever learn that my child is subjected to the negative interaction by one of these violently behavioral children, it's gonna get really ugly here. So we need to come up with a plan to discuss this, figure out the processes, and figure out what to do. This is not gonna be the first time you see me here, and we need to openly discuss this. Because I'm not happy about this.
Okay, thank you. Maureen?
May and Camilla.
Hi everyone, my name is Camilla Desso and I'm May McGrath and we are students here at Tamarack. We are hoping to start a faith-based community service-oriented club called the One Light Club. We both came to Tamarack at the same time and we realized that a lot of our friends were Catholic or Protestant or Lutheran or Methodist, and rather than those denominations being something that divided us, they brought us together because we're all Christian. We know that Christianity can have a bad reputation sometimes as being exclusive, which is something that we really want to change. Because God's one light is the same for all of us. So with this club, we want to shine His light and spread His love through our words, actions, and community service.
Thank you.
Eric?
Hi, Eric Olson. I'm a teacher here. I also live at 36 Stirrup Drive. And I'm really speaking as the BTA, Brickkill Teachers Association president. I'm kind of in response to your comments. I also want to say thank you to you. I think one of the things the BTA and the officers and myself are most proud of is that we have a very good relationship, a very respectful relationship with the school board, with the superintendent, with the assistant superintendent, and with the district and administrators as a whole. We're super proud of that. It's nice to see that all work its way out in negotiations like this. So we're happy about the extension. I think when we were talking about what we wanted to get out of it, we're just looking for fair. And we walk away thinking that this is fair. So appreciate it. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Angelina. Tell Jeff Honeywell we said thank you. Thank you to the school board, and we'll see you in 2 years.
Sounds good. All right.
Anybody else?
That's it. All right. Need a motion to adjourn our meeting. Danielle, Kevin, all right, all in favor? All right, thank you all.
Thank God.
Have a good holiday.
Oh, I'm tired.